In this presentation, we're going to continue on exploring the vendor section, this time taking a look at the familiar form, that form of a check. Time to push forward with Sage 50, Cloud Accounting. Here we are in our Sage 50 Bellwether Garden Supply practice file. You should be able to follow along with the free demo version. We're going to be in the vendors and purchases section. Vendors and purchases section. We looked at the major forms before, including the purchase order, enter bills, and pay bills. The other form that we'll typically use to pay vendors is, of course, the check. Let's take a look at the standard check. We're going to say the check dropdown. We have a new check, so let's set up the new check here. We're just going to write a standard check. Let's say that we're going to be picking up. Obviously, we could then pick up a vendor and write the check to the vendor. If we needed to set up a new check, then we could set up a new check for a new vendor as we go. I'm going to put in the check number up top. So we'll say check number here. And then I'm going to change the date. Let's make the date to the 25th this time. I'm going to get the dollar amounts for 700, something that we can recognize when we take a look at this in the form. And then we're going to be putting it to the account. Note the account down here being the supplies expense. If you needed to split the account, you can use the split item here so we can then apply it to multiple accounts if necessary. I'm going to say OK. What's going to happen, it's going to be coming out of the cash account, which of course is the checking account. The other side then going to the account that we decide it to be going to, this case, the supplies expense account. Let's go ahead and print this out or save this information. I'm going to say save, and then I'm going to close this out. Now note, if you select the checks drop down here and we go to the print checks, you can use this item to help you to print the checks. Notice when you're thinking about the checks, we do need basically the pre-printed checks still, because that's going to be one of the major internal controls. So you're going to be needing to have the pre-printed checks and then print those checks. Going to close this back out. Going to go then to our forms. Let's go to the reports drop down. Let's go to our financial statements and check out those two accounts. Let's go into the balance sheet. Going to open up the standard balance sheet. We're going to keep the default setting for the period that we are in and say OK. Then, of course, we have the checking account should be decreasing. So if we go into the checking account, regular checking account with the zoom feature, go on down to the bottom of it. We have this item on the 25th where we wrote the check. So the check is here. You'll notice the reference number and the vendor. If we double click then on it, there is our check. The other side going to the expense. That's going to be on the income statement. So I'm going to go back on over here. We're going to be opening up the income statement. So let's do that. Income statement, and I'm going to keep these here. I don't want to show these zeros, so I'm going to close that or untick that off, and then we're going to go on over and we're looking for the I believe it was supplies expense. So here's the supplies expense in the expense section. Double clicking on that, there's the 700 once again. So standard kind of process. The other type of form, probably one that we're most familiar with, paying off the vendors with the old check, that being different than going through the accounts payable. We're not going to go to the payable first. We went directly to the check. That's going to be it for now. Let's get out of here.